What do you mean someone almost fell off the train platform and no one even reported it? Travis O'Neill pushed the report aside, eyebrows drawn tight as he paced across his office. He'd inherited the rail company from his father 6 years ago, expanding it to 12 commuter lines across 3 states. It had grown fast, and with that came growing pains. He knew that. But this was negligence. He'd gotten used to trusting his district managers, letting them handle the day-to-day. But lately, customer complaints had doubled. Delays, dirty coaches, staff ignoring riders. One report said a dispatcher brushed off a safety hazard. Another claimed a conductor was crying on shift, and no one checked on her. Travis hated secondhand stories. He needed the truth. So, the next morning, a man named Tommy Owens showed up at the company's 4th rail hub, tucked between a truck stop and a crumbling diner in northern Illinois. With a full beard, shaggy hair, and thick glasses, no one recognized him. It helped that he'd never visited this location in person. When he inherited the business, he'd focused on the larger hubs. This one, it was one of the smallest but handled 3 of the company's busiest commuter routes. "New guy?" a supervisor asked when he walked in. "Yeah, just transferred from the central office," Travis replied, keeping his voice low and slow. "Heard y'all needed more hands." "Always," the supervisor, a wiry man named Dale, muttered. "We're short 4 conductors and 2 dispatchers. Half the team's pulling doubles. Don't expect anyone to hold your hand." Travis nodded. "I'll figure it out." He was thrown into conductor training, immediately shadowing a mid-shift crew on the westbound route. That's where he met Rosa Finley, the only female conductor on the team. She was fast, sharp, and handled passengers with calm confidence. But she looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, voice hoarse from constant announcements. "You always work doubles?" Travis asked as they stepped off a packed train. "5 days a week, sometimes 6, Rosa said, brushing her curls back. "We're short, and Dale keeps promising help that never comes." "Why not take a break?" She gave him a tired smile. "Because if I stop, the whole line gets backed up. And these people, they just want to get home." Later that day, Travis joined her in the dispatch room. That's where it got worse. A call came in from a platform manager. "We've got a loose tile on track B. Someone almost tripped. Can we shut it down until maintenance?" "No can do," said the dispatcher on duty, a heavy-set man named Rick. "We're already 2 trains behind. Just cone it off." "But the cone keeps tipping over. We need—" "I said cone it off," Rick snapped, then hung up. Travis stared at him. "Isn't that dangerous?" Rick leaned back, chewing on a pen. "You knew? Look, if we stop for every cracked tile and squeaky wheel, we'd never run anything on time. You want delays, or do you want trains moving?" Rosa stayed quiet, eyes on her clipboard. Travis looked at her, then back at Rick. "Someone could get hurt," he said. Rick shrugged. "Then we write a report and move on. Welcome to rail." That night, Travis sat alone in the break room, staring at the vending machine. He'd seen enough in one day to make his stomach turn. Rosa had worked a double shift, skipped her lunch, and still stayed after her route ended to help a lost passenger find his connecting train. No one thanked her. Meanwhile, Rick had ignored 3 more safety complaints and joked about overreacting passengers. Travis rubbed his face. He wasn't sure how much longer he could stay undercover, but he needed more. One day wasn't enough. He had to see how bad it really was and who else was suffering because of it. But deep down, what bothered him most wasn't just the dispatcher ignoring safety. It was that no one seemed surprised. Travis arrived before sunrise the next morning. The sky was still a bruised blue, and the air held the damp, metallic chill of rail yards that never sleep. No one greeted him when he walked into the depot's back office, just the low drone of fluorescent lights and the smell of burnt coffee. Dale walked in 10 minutes later, carrying fast food and rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Back again, huh?" "Figured I'd learn quicker if I stuck around," Travis said, pulling on a reflective vest. Dale tossed the empty bag into the bin and motioned to the side door. "Then you're with platform crew today. Go find Pete. He'll show you where we're short." Travis stepped outside and found Pete hunched over a mop bucket, swearing softly as he tried to unjam the wheels. He looked to be in his 60s, with a weather-beaten face and a permanent stoop from years of manual labor. "You knew?" Pete asked without looking up. Second day. Pete nodded toward the far end of the platform. Then grab a trash picker and start at the west end. We're 2 guys down, and watch the edge some of those tiles don't sit flush. As Travis walked the length of the platform, he saw what Pete meant. Several tiles wobbled underfoot. One near the yellow safety line was chipped so badly it looked like a missing tooth in the concrete. A young woman in business clothes nearly stumbled over it, catching herself just in time. Back inside, Travis joined Pete and another worker named Layla for a quick break. Layla was in her early 20s, hands chapped red from cleaning solution, a faded hoodie draped over her uniform. "I asked Dale for gloves that don't leak last week," she said, blowing into her hands. "Still haven't seen them?" Pete gave a dry laugh. "You'll get 'em next year, maybe." "I'm serious. My hands are cracked. I had to wrap them in tissue paper under the gloves yesterday." Travis looked between them. "You report it to HR?" Layla scoffed. "You think HR calls us back? Last time I tried, I got an auto reply and nothing after." Pete leaned closer. "They don't care, kid. This place runs because people like you and me keep our heads down and finish the shift." Before Travis could respond, a call came over the intercom. "Cleanup needed on train 4. Vomit in car 2. Bring masks." Pete groaned and stood. "That's us." They hauled supplies toward the idling train. When they stepped inside, the smell hit like a punch. No ventilation, and the mess stretched from 2 seats onto the floor. A young attendant stood near the doors, arms crossed. "You just gonna stand there?" Pete asked. "I'm not touching that," the attendant replied. "I'm not paid to clean puke." "We all get paid barely enough, kid," Pete muttered, grabbing gloves. They spent 20 minutes scrubbing, gagging behind their masks. When they emerged, Travis noticed the supervisor watching from the platform. "You see that?" Travis asked him. The supervisor, a man in a crisp jacket, shrugged. "Not my department." Later that afternoon, Travis joined the conductors prepping for rush hour. Rosa wasn't there, she'd called in sick. Her replacement was a man named Kevin, loud and impatient, who barked at a new trainee for fumbling a scanner. "This isn't daycare," Kevin snapped. "You screw up the schedule, people miss connections. Figure it out or go home." The trainee, barely out of high school, looked stunned. Travis stepped in. "Hey," he said calmly. "He's new." "Nobody gets it perfect the first time." Kevin turned. "You his mom?" "No," Travis said evenly. "Just don't think yelling helps." Kevin stared him down, then walked off. The trainee gave a quiet thanks. During the route, Travis kept his eyes open. Kevin ignored multiple passenger requests, skipped announcements entirely for 2 stops, and left a disabled rider stranded near the rear car without offering help. When the rider tried to ask for assistance, Kevin waved him off. "We'll get to you later. Sit tight." The man's hands trembled as he struggled to maneuver his wheelchair through the narrow aisle alone. Travis helped him without hesitation, guiding him to the correct door. "Thank you," the man said softly. "I ride this line every week. Usually they don't even notice me." After they returned, Travis sought out Dale. "Kevin's been here long?" "Too long," Dale said, flipping through a clipboard. "But he keeps the schedule tight, and that matters more than feelings." "Why?" Travis's jaw tightened. "He ignored a disabled rider, treated a trainee like garbage. You think that's acceptable?" "He's just old school." Travis stepped closer. "Old school doesn't mean cruel." Dale looked away. "We don't have the luxury of being picky right now. We're barely staffed as is." That night, Travis sat outside the depot, watching the last train roll out under a blood-orange sky. His clothes itched with grime. The ache in his legs was dull but persistent. But what weighed more was the silence. No one thanked the crew. No one checked in on them. And leadership was conspicuously absent. He thought about Rosa, about Pete and Layla, about the man in the wheelchair. He pulled out his phone and scrolled through the company's internal directory. Then he made a note. Kevin, termination pending. Rick, under review. Pete and Layla, hazard pay request. Rosa, mandatory paid leave and wellness check. Inside, the system kept moving. Trains came and went, but for Travis, the wheels had already started turning in another direction. The rain started just after 5 the next morning. A steady, cold drizzle soaked the platform as Travis reported in for another shift. The concrete gleamed slick under the dim station lights. He kept his collar turned up and his head down as he waited near the yard gates. Dale didn't show. Neither did Rick. A younger supervisor named Jenna, who Travis hadn't seen before, took charge of the morning briefing instead. Her voice was flat, her eyes red, and her clipboard had several pages torn loose and re-clipped hastily. Rosa's not back. Kevin called off. Pete's out with a pulled shoulder. Dispatch is stretched. We'll need floaters covering multiple trains today. No one's getting a fixed route. There were no complaints, just nods. Everyone looked too tired to argue. Travis was assigned to Train 6 as a roving conductor, helping wherever needed. The train left late the second delay of the morning, and passengers were already tense when they boarded. A woman with 2 toddlers struggled with her bags. An elderly man kept glancing at his watch, muttering under his breath. Midway through the first route, Travis found Layla doing trash collection between stops. Her uniform was soaked at the cuffs, and her hair was pulled into a tight bun, flattened by the damp air. "They told me I'd be on indoor duty today," she said, not stopping her work. "Guess that changed." "Who told you?" "Jenna." She looked like she hadn't slept, probably forgot. They reached the third car, where a teenage boy was sprawled across 2 seats with his hood up and his shoes on the cushions. Travis approached and asked him to sit properly. The boy didn't respond. "Hey," Travis said calmly. "We need those seats open. It's filling up." The boy turned slowly. His eyes were bloodshot, and he reeked of something sharp and chemical. Layla stepped back instinctively. "I paid for my seat," the boy slurred. "You paid for one," Travis replied. "Not 2. The boy kicked his feet off lazily. "Whatever." They moved on. Layla exhaled once the doors closed behind them. "That kid smelled like spray paint." "Yeah," Travis said. He did. They found Jenna near the back, checking fare scanners. Travis pulled her aside. "There's a rider in car 3 who's clearly high," he said. "He's taking up 2 seats, barely responsive." Jenna didn't blink. "If he's not aggressive, let it go. We've had worse." "He's out of it, could fall or get sick. What if a parent comes in with their kid?" "We don't have the staff to babysit one teenager," she said. "We're trying to avoid police calls unless it's violent. Just keep an eye on him." Travis didn't answer. Jenna turned away, already scribbling something on her clipboard. The next stop brought on a wheelchair user with a service dog. The rider waited near the platform edge while one of the train attendants, a man in his 40s with thinning hair and a state college lanyard, stood near the doors but made no move to assist. Travis tapped him on the arm. "You see that gentleman waiting?" "Yeah." "Then why aren't you helping?" The man shrugged without looking up. "Dog's not wearing the proper vest. Could be fake." Travis stared at him. "You're not TSA. He has a chair and a dog with a tag. That's all we need." The man didn't move. "If you're so sure, help him yourself." Travis did. Once the train was moving again, he found Jenna again. That attendant refused to help a disabled rider, said the dog was fake. She looked at him tiredly. "That's Greg. He's been written up twice. We're documenting a third." "What are you waiting for?" "Another replacement. We're not there yet." "He's not just lazy, he's discriminating." Jenna didn't argue. She just wrote something down and walked off. The tension broke wide an hour later. Train 6 had just pulled into its 4th stop when a door sensor failed. The rear car's doors didn't open. Passengers inside began shouting and banging from the inside. The platform crew didn't notice. No one came to check. Travis ran back and forced the manual release, letting the doors slide open. One woman stumbled out in tears. "My son's feverish, and we've been trapped in there for 10 minutes. "I'm sorry," Travis said, steadying her. "We'll get you help." The platform speaker crackled to life. "Doors were functioning on our end," a dispatcher said. "Must have been passenger error." Travis stormed into the dispatch booth at the next transfer stop. Rick wasn't there. Someone named Angela was at the panel, headphones on, no one else in sight. She looked up as he entered and raised one brow. "Who are you?" "Tommy, conductor temp." "We had a door malfunction on 6. Your feed said it was passenger error?" Angela tapped a key. "Doors were showing green status on our monitor." "Green doesn't mean they opened. No one responded to the banging for 10 minutes. Angela leaned back. "We're working on backup diagnostics. There's not much more we can do." "You could have radioed someone on board." Angela didn't answer. Travis left without another word. By the time he reached the yard again, the rain had stopped, but the wind had picked up. The sky was a flat steel gray, and the lights on the maintenance garage flickered with a soft buzz. He walked back into the depot, peeled off his soaked vest, and went straight to the staff lounge. Jenna was there, leaning over a tablet, fingers trembling slightly as she scrolled through shift reports. "Jenna," he said. She looked up. "What now?" "I need you to call a meeting, tonight. Everyone. Conductors, platform, dispatch, anyone still here." Her eyes narrowed. "Why?" "Because I'm not Tommy Owens. I'm Travis O'Neill." She stood up so fast the tablet clattered to the floor. "I'm the CEO," he said, "and I've seen enough." The room went silent. "Where's Rick?" he asked. "Out sick," she said. "But he's not going to be back." "Good. He's terminated. So is Greg. Effective immediately." Jenna opened her mouth, but he cut her off. "We're not waiting for replacements to stop discrimination. We're not letting safety be optional because we're short-staffed. If we're understaffed, we cut routes, not corners." She sat down hard. An hour later, 33 employees gathered in the old freight room. Folding chairs scraped across the floor. Some people stood in the back. Travis walked in and took off his company-issued jacket. "I spent 3 days working beside you," he said, voice even, "and I saw people doing everything they could with almost nothing. I saw others doing nothing when they were paid to protect riders. That ends now." No one spoke. "Effective tomorrow, we're reviewing all station-level leadership. If you're doing your job with integrity, you're safe. If you're not, you're gone." He looked around the room. "Hazard pay will be issued to those working cleaning and platform duties through the last month. Backdated. Gloves and safety gear will be restocked by Friday. Dispatch will be restructured. And if you ever see something unsafe and someone tells you to ignore it, you come straight to me." A woman in the back raised her hand. It was Layla. "What if we're afraid to speak up?" she asked. "Then we failed you," Travis said. "But we're fixing that. I'm not going back to the office until this yard runs right." He meant it. And for the first time that week, someone in the room clapped. Travis returned to the depot at 6 the next morning, not in disguise this time. No borrowed name, no fake badge. He wore the same uniform as before, minus the alias, but his presence landed heavier now. Word had already spread from the emergency meeting the night before. Conversation stopped when he walked in. Eyes followed him across the floor. Some were cautious. Others, quietly hopeful. He didn't pause to greet anyone. Instead, he headed straight to the back office where Jenna stood over the dispatch board, headset around her neck, posture more upright than it had been yesterday. He closed the door behind him. "Angela's shift ended an hour ago," she said quickly. "No issues overnight. I confirmed with the overnight crew, no door malfunctions, no missed stops." "Good," Travis said. He studied her for a second. "You've been acting supervisor for how long?" 3 months. "You want the job permanently?" Her mouth opened, but she hesitated. "Be honest," he said. "I didn't think I'd be considered," she replied. "I've been plugging holes, trying to keep things moving, but I've been doing it without any real backing. You've got it now, but I need you to be clear with your team. No more excuses, no more brushing things off because we're short-staffed. If someone can't meet the standard, they're out. If they need help, we give it, but we don't look the other way anymore." Jenna nodded. "Understood. Good. Start prepping for a midweek audit. I'll be here every day until we finish the first round of evaluations." Travis stepped out of the office and walked across the yard toward the break room, where a few employees were gathered around a chipped table. The room looked smaller without the haze of anonymity. It smelled faintly of plastic and instant oatmeal. Layla sat with a fresh pair of gloves tucked into her waistband, thicker, better quality than the ones she'd been using. One of the maintenance leads, a tall man named Bryce, handed her a thermos as she laughed at something he said. The tension from yesterday had lifted slightly, though it hadn't disappeared. Travis waited until she noticed him. She stood quickly. "You don't have to salute," he said dryly. "No, I just didn't expect—" She trailed off. "Did the new gloves help?" "They don't leak. That's a start." He nodded. "You'll be assigned indoor detail for the next 3 days. You're not the only one who needed a break." She looked over at Bryce, who gave her a small nod. "Thank you," she said. I thought maybe you'd forget. I didn't come down here to forget things, he said. Before she could reply, Rosa stepped through the doorway. She'd returned to work that morning, still visibly tired but far more composed. She wore a medical mask and carried a thermos of tea. Her eyes met Travis's, and she held his gaze for a beat longer than necessary. I heard, she said. He tilted his head. Heard what? That you weren't who you said you were. And that Kevin's gone. He's not coming back. Good. She sat down across from Layla and poured tea from the thermos into a paper cup. I got a call from someone in HR last night. First time in over a year. Travis leaned against the wall, arms crossed. We're rebuilding it. The call center will be routed directly to my office for the time being. I want to know when something's broken. Rosa nodded. Then, here's your first call. Dale's still on payroll. He's not here this morning, but his name's still on the roster. I know, Travis said. He's suspended pending review. I've already scheduled a compliance audit of every shift he supervised. If we find what I think we will, he won't be back. Rosa raised her cup. That's more than I expected. I'm not interested in Band-Aids, he said. I'm interested in fixing this. He stepped out just as a crew member ran down the corridor toward him. Sir, Travis, they need you near Track C. Something's up with the maintenance crew. Travis followed him out the side door and into the yard. Wind cut across the open space, and the smell of diesel and wet gravel filled the air. Near Track C, a group of workers had gathered near a parked engine. Two mechanics stood facing off a shorter man with grease-stained sleeves and a younger tech with a tool belt slung around his waist. What's going on? Travis asked. The younger one stepped forward. He told me I couldn't work on the brake line, said I wasn't built for it. Travis looked between them. Built how? The older man shrugged. It's tight work. These newer kids don't know how to handle that system. I said he'd probably strip the threads, mess up the calibration. That what you said? Travis asked. The younger man shook his head. No, sir. He said I'd mess it up because I can't keep my hands steady. Because of my condition. What condition? I have a tremor, he said. Genetic. Mild. I've been certified to work with it for 2 years. Never had an incident. Travis turned slowly to the older mechanic. Is that accurate? The man didn't answer. You're done, Travis said. What? You're fired. Effective immediately. You made a baseless accusation about someone's medical condition, and you used it to block them from doing their job. That's discrimination. We don't tolerate it. Not for a second. The man opened his mouth again, but Travis raised a hand. Don't try to explain it. You're not staying long enough for it to matter. He turned to the younger tech. You okay to finish the work? Yes, sir. Then do it. And if anyone else questions your qualifications without cause, you come straight to me. Back in the operations office, Travis stood at the whiteboard, drawing a simple diagram of the yard's current shift structure. Jenna, Rosa, and Bryce stood behind him, watching as he sketched out coverage gaps, flagged critical roles, and circled areas marked for hiring. We're going to consolidate for now, he said. Fewer trains, better service. That means we'll close the least used route starting Monday. We'll reassign those staff to where they're needed most. Bryce stepped forward. That'll help with the maintenance backlog. We've got units waiting 3 weeks for repairs. We can finally get through it. Good, Travis said. Next thing, new hires. We'll be vetting applicants directly. No more bulk onboarding from contractors. Everyone gets trained by someone from this yard. Rosa crossed her arms. You're staying that involved? Travis looked at her. I have to be. This place runs different when people think no one's watching. That changes now. By the end of the week, all employees had undergone performance reviews. 4 more staff were let go, each with documented incidents of misconduct or negligence. Rosa was offered a lead conductor role, which she accepted. Layla was moved to a facilities coordinator position, now responsible for reporting supply shortages and tracking safety gear inventory. Every department received check-ins from Travis personally. He didn't return to the corporate office. He set up a temporary desk in the break room and worked there for the next 3 weeks. It wasn't about making a statement. It was about making sure the changes stuck. The station still had problems. One morning, a train lost power at a switching junction and delayed 4 lines. Another day, a rookie dispatcher sent 2 trains to the same platform, causing a scramble. But the difference now was that people reacted. They responded, corrected, and owned their mistakes. No one ignored issues. No one shrugged. At the end of the month, Travis called a final meeting in the freight room. The same folding chairs, the same flickering lights. But this time, the energy in the room was different. "You know what I saw when I first came here?" he asked the room. No one answered. "I saw people who had stopped expecting things to get better. People who thought they were on their own. That's what we have to fight. Not just the broken equipment, not just the gaps in the schedule. We fix the culture. Everything else follows." He looked around the room. "You're not invisible. Not anymore." Someone at the back started clapping. Then more joined in. Not loud, not wild, just steady. He didn't try to silence it. He let it happen. Because this time, it wasn't for show. It was real.